This video is going to be going over what are the best long-range rifles inside Warzone after the Bren nerf. We're going to be taking a look at the TTK stats for most of the long-range rifles that are inside the game. And if you enjoy weapon stat breakdowns like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k subscribers. Click the link in the description and subscribe to our second channel. And let's get on into this. Now, the first thing I want to do is actually take a look at the patch notes. So going into the patch notes, what I mainly want to show you here is just the fact that damage values weren't really changed when it comes to all of the kind of long range rifles. So that includes assault rifles and LMGs. Here we have the changes, and for the actual base weapons, they fixed the kind of recoil on the visual side of things for most of the assault rifles, but also they changed the recoil deviation for some of the weapons, right? So they never changed the damage profile, but then also looking at attachments, the only thing they changed in terms of like damage and what could affect the damage is the Queen's Royal barrel on the Bren. It's just the damage range was adjusted, but then it doesn't have the removal of the damage fall off now, so it does have a second damage drop off point if you use this Queen's Royal barrel. And that is pretty much all that was changed in terms of actual changes to the weapons. So now what I have here is my TTK spreadsheet with all of the assault rifles on it, and then on the next page I also have the TTK spreadsheets with the LMGs on it as well. Now, like I said, the damage values were not changed, but what we did test extra today was the fire rate mags on the Vanguard LMGs. Now, the only one that doesn't actually have like a fire rate mag is the DP27, so we didn't have to do any testing on that weapon. But the Bren, the Type 11, and even the MG42 has a faster firing mag option, and usually gives you better recoil control, but also changes the TTK of the weapon because it alters your damage as well. So we'll take a look at the LMGs first, and what we're going to do is we're going to arrange them in terms of the second damage drop off point first, which is already arranged right here. And as you can see, at long range, the thin LMG with the long shot adverse barrel is the fastest long range TTK LMG, but we all know the recoil on this gun is not very good at all. Then we've got the MG82 from Cold War, and again, as a long range gun, is not the best because they did nerf the recoil quite hard on this gun too. So again, it's not a good long range weapon. Then we've got the Modern Warfare MG34, again, not a good long range weapon. Here is where I do think the M91 is a solid weapon, and I've said it for a while, no one ever believes me, but no one's ever going to use this gun still. And it's probably maybe the recoil pattern, but even then the recoil on this gun is actually pretty good too. But if we're looking at the M91, it's such a consistent gun for chest shot TTKs. Now, then we've got the Modern Warfare Bruin. Then we've got the Vanguard Bren as well. At close range, the Bren actually does better than the other two weapons. And that's probably why people still like to pick the Bren anyway. Now, this is the standard Bren with either the large mags or just the base mags. So this is not that fast firing mag. So this is the standard Bren. Then we've got the PKM. Now, the PKM is a super solid option. You always know the PKM is very reliable when it comes to TTKs at long range. It's exactly the same as the Bren when it comes to chest shot TTK. But the Bren I do still think is a little bit more accurate. Now, we've got the MG42 from Vanguard with the fire rate mags on it as well. That's another solid option. You get 125 rounds on this. Absolutely insane. Then we've got the RAL LMG. Then we've got the Bren with the fire rate mag. So if I was going to pick some of the LMGs from this list, it would have to be these four LMGs right here, and I'll put them in our long range spreadsheet. Now let's do the exact same thing with the assault rifles as well now. So we've got the assault rifles ordered now in terms of the long range TTK, because that is where most of your engagements will be if you're focusing on a long range build for a weapon anyway. So the Vanguard AS44 did get an adjustment to its recoil, so it will be a little bit easier to use. Now, I did try and use this at long range, and it doesn't really work as well as some of the other weapons for sure. Still, it's a little bit better to use than it was before. But still not viable. The AS-Val, definitely not viable. The FFAR-1, definitely not viable. The EM2 is still one of the fastest killing guns in the game, probably one of the most consistent. Then we've got the Fara, then we've got the Cold War AK, then we've got the Ram 7, the QBZ, the Groza, the Grav, the Odin, and as you can see, the Vanguard guns are just nowhere near at the top of this list other than the AS44. They will have decent headshot multipliers because pretty much every Vanguard gun has insane headshot damage. So if you do land a single headshot with a Vanguard weapon, you're likely to get a much faster TTK. But even when you use like the fire rate mags, you use vital on there, all that good stuff, the chest shot TTK alone is not great. So if you are just basing it off of chest shots, then you're not going to be doing very well with any of the vanguard weapons. So in my personal opinion, if you are choosing long range weapons, I would personally be going for probably these 4 right here. So what I've done now is I've actually ordered these weapons in terms of the long range TTK. So these are the 4 LMGs and the 4 ARs that we've taken that I think are actually viable for long range. And we've ordered those. As you can see here, we've got the EM2, Fara, M91, which is actually going to be super solid, by the way. Cold War AK, Ram 7, Bren, PKM. All of these are solid options. You could definitely use them at long range. And keep in mind, this is just focusing on that chest shot TTK. So what we're going to do now is fly through some builds of all of these weapons that I mentioned. So the PKM, we've got the mono suppressor, extended barrel, tac laser, VLK optic, snatch grip. Usual class, we all know what the PKM build is. Moving on to the Bren now, you want to use the Mercury silencer. You still want to use that Queen's Royal barrel, because even though the damage now does drop off of this gun, and you do get that second TTK drop off point, you do still want to use this for the recoil benefits. It's still going to be an absolute laser beam, so it's going to be still super easy to use, so I highly recommend using it. When it comes to the optic, G16, Hawkinson stock, tight grip. Some people are saying brace does not work at the moment. I will need to test that out in a future video, but for what I'm aware of, tight grip does work. Polymer grip, 100 round mags, because like I said, the fast mags, which is the 40 round mags here, don't give you a faster TTK. And then the strife angle grip. For the broom, we've got the monolithic suppressor, summit barrel, tac laser, VLK optic, and commando foregrip. Again, you don't really want to use that 60 round mag with this option. You're going to get a ton more recoil than you actually need on this gun. You do need to use it like an LMG, unfortunately. You can't really use this like an assault rifle. For the Ram 7, this is just a long range build for the Ram. So mono suppressor, ranger barrel, VLK optic, 50 round mags, commando foregrip. For the Cold War AK, if you do remember back to maybe a couple of weeks ago now, we did get a nerf to the recoil of the Cold War AK, so definitely keep that in mind when using this gun. So we're using the GRU suppressor, Spetsnaz RPK barrel, which is the final barrel, axial 3 times, 45 round mags, and Spetsnaz grip. For the M91, we're kind of using like an ADS sort of build for this weapon. So we've got mono suppressor, heavy barrel for the recoil control and damage range, tac laser, VLK optic, and commando foregrip. For the Fara, you want to use the GRU suppressor, Spetsnaz barrel, Spetsnaz grip, Spetsnaz mags, and the axial 3 times optic. For the EM2, you want to use the agency suppressor, task force barrel, axial 3 times optic, 40 round mags, and field agent grip. I use the 40 instead of the 50 just because you do get a faster ADS time, but you can choose the 50 if it's personal preference to you. And those are the best long range rifles in the game right now. Like I said, when it comes to the vanguard weapons, they will have like a pretty decent extremities and headshot multiplier, and that'll probably what's making them a bit more competitive than what it looks like in this video. But hopefully this gives you some idea of what to use at the moment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. Also subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal 50k, and thank you very much for watching.